Ah, welcome back, everyone. How's that?
That was good. That was good. Very natural.
I thought he was going to, you're going to sabotage me again in that open. You didn't. Because this was actually interesting to look at.
It is.
New high in the stock market.
Surprise, surprise, right?
Unbelievable. All right, so let's start there.
Sure.
First, welcome Steve Carlton.
Yep.
First Vice President, Jenny Montgomery Scott, new haircut. So
it's actually just growing out, actually.
just let me know what's going on with the stock market.
More of the same, actually, Jess. You know, we've seen this trend going on now for quite a while, where we keep going to new highs, new highs. The amount that we're going up, though, isn't quite as dramatic as in the past. But, as we go into the end of the year, it seems as though the market keeps wanting to push a little bit higher and a little higher.
You want to know something? I'm watching the business news every night. Analysts are going crazy, trying to outgun each other on why this is happening and whatever. One common thing that I've heard is it has to do with international currencies, Japan.
Yeah, I joked with somebody earlier today, and he said, "Why is the stock market going higher?" And I said, "Well, there's more buyers than sellers."
Yeah, right. Hello.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, right.
So there is a lot of people a lot smarter than me that are making calls on this, and certainly they're saying the Japanese yen, the Japanese economy is struggling, talking about going into another recession. The Japanese currency losing value versus relative to the U.S. dollar.
Right.
Europe not growing as fast. I think it goes back to what we said last year about the U.S. economy being the cleanest shirt. Or the best horse in the glue factory, and so it's
Wow.
we're definitely done a lot better than these other economies, and I think that's reflective. Good interest rates.
Well, you know what? Explain. You had mentioned to me one time before, and I found it very helpful because I said, "Well, what difference does it make if the yen is not performing?" And you said something to the effect, and I know I don't have this exactly right, but that if their currency is in trouble, they'll go to gold, they'll go to silver, they'll go to that. So that market changes, and that affects the stock market.
Well, we did talk about. We were talking a little bit about how when there's a lack of faith in currency, paper currency,
right.
that we're seeing countries that traditionally had very large holdings of U.S. dollars starting to purchase more gold and more silver. And so we've heard countries like Russia and China moving away from the dollar and actually going out and physically purchasing gold. We've seen a lot of the Japanese citizens talk about buying physical metal. And so I think it's not a silver bullet, pun intended, but it is one of the measures, one of the means by which people can kind of mitigate some of the currency volatility. And so I think they're doing that, but there is no silver bullet on this. And I think as long as their economy is struggling, as long as Europe's struggling, that will direct strength towards the dollar.
Stock market at new highs, low gas prices, fourth quarter retail. Screaming in Black Friday next week.
Yeah, this is a really exciting time because I'm a little nostalgic. I don't know if you remember last year we were going into the weather. And then what are we talking here? We looked at Buffalo, 6 feet of snow. We're getting more tonight. I think the weather and the cold, 50 states freezing. I think there's a little bit of concern saying, is this a little bit like deja vu?
Yeah, right.
The cold weather, is that going to affect consumer spending? Are people going to stay indoors because it's too cold out? And Black Friday is going to be a really good indicator. A lot of big sales, a lot of the retail space is very aggressively advertising. You've probably seen it.
Sure,
50% off here and 50% off there. Will that get the consumer out of the house? Certainly the low gas prices means consumers have more money in their pockets to spend. So keep your fingers crossed, as are a lot of these businesses, small business owners and everything else, hoping that will create an incentive for people to come out and buy.
Now, again, I love something we started last week, actually. You're the professional. You receive tons of phone calls each week. What are you hearing this week?
The number one thing that people were talking about last week, and it really kind of fed into this week, was all the people in the Northeast that have natural gas for heating. And this goes back to the weather again, because people that have a cushion of a couple $100 a month, spending money, when the heating bill goes way up $300-400, or when the gas prices skyrocket, that really puts a crimp on families. And so people are noticing natural gas prices going up pretty dramatically. So that's been one thing. The other thing that people are talking about is with the political changes, what sort of tax implications are we looking at? Is the White House, is Congress going to work together? Are we going to see that collaboration like we talked about last week? People are still talking about that, saying, are you getting any sense of the tax implications, what's going to happen there? And then the third thing is really, is this trend with oil going down the way it is?
Right.
Is it going to last the whole winter, or is it going to turn around and skyrocket? Is this something I want to get in and invest on?
Now, I'd really love complete this sentence for me,
Sure.
right? You hear that gas prices are going lower. Do people call you and say, get out of gas stocks? Big drought in California. Get out of companies that are produce-related companies.
Okay.
You know?
Cause and effect. What you're
Cause
saying,
and effect,
yeah,
yes,
cause and
okay.
effect. That there's a headline risk, or there's something, an event that's happening that is causing an outcome, and then a lot of individuals are saying, what is the opportunity?
Yeah, right. Gotcha. Okay. By the time we hear about it, good time to make that change, or is the train left at station?
Yeah, well, that's
You know
the
what I
thing.
mean?
You know, so many people love thematic investing. So
Yes,
we've
right.
talked a little bit about, investing on a story.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenge with investing on a story is by the time you've heard the story enough to act on it,
Mm-hmm.
so has a lot of other people. And so therefore the trade is a little long in the tooth. If it's in the magazines and you've heard it, read it in the newspaper. So I don't necessarily think that's the best way to go about making investment decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly it creates great conversation and dialogue, but I think it goes back to, what's your time horizon?
Yeah, and so in other words, if you're getting ahead of the curve, you're really, you're trying to get ahead of the curve, you got to be careful that the trend already hasn't taken place, I guess, right?
Exactly. And talk about trends.
Right.
I got to give you a compliment. You did a piece yesterday on the Hub,
Oh, thanks.
which
yeah.
I thought was interesting. It was really compelling, and it was exciting to see what's going on.
We got some very nice feedback about that. For those of you who didn't catch it, it's on our website. But we're, related to the things that Steve and I talk about every week, the face of small business and startups is changing due to the economy and due to technology. And this little very interesting experiment here in Saratoga and in Glens Falls called the Hub provides shared services for the things from meeting rooms and copiers and those kinds of back office needs, and provides really beautiful suites and office spaces for small businesses.
Yeah.
And what stunned me is that we happen to be in the same building with the Hub in Saratoga, and when I went upstairs, you can't believe the list of interesting companies. Financial advisors, lawyers, a potato chip company.
Oh, I love it,
I
yeah.
mean, all this stuff.
Well, this is
Good local stuff.
Yeah, this is the small business. What I said to you so many times. Our community thrives and depends on small businesses, and so like the incubator projects and RPI and,
Right,
and
sure,
down in Albany.
right.
This is how small business grows, and the biggest challenge to small business owners is the upfront cost, having to sign big leases, having to make big investments when you're just starting out. And so having this kind of opportunity in Saratoga and Glens Falls, it allows them to kind of launch and get off the ground and get some revenue, get some income going without having to write these big checks at the beginning.
It was very impressive. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the segment, Steve and I, a couple of you have emailed me and wanted to know, where's that segment you're talking about? How much money do you need to retire? And the more Steve and I get into it, the more we realize we've got a lot of information to gather here. So we're still researching it. I promise you before the end of the year, we'll really dip into this.
We'll get it.
We know it's going to be a series because there's a lot of very valuable information.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it, huh?
Thanks, Jess. Yes.
You're quite welcome. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
The same to you.
We won't see you next week.
No.
Hey, a whole week for your hair to grow back in.
Thanks, and happy Thanksgiving to all you guys there, too.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate it.
To see this interview again, head to our website, looktvonline.com.